What's up, guys? Welcome to the Venture Coiners podcast. I am so incredibly excited to share this episode with you. It was a lot of fun to record. I had CZ, CEO and founder of Binance, one of the largest cryptocurrency exchanges in the world, do nearly $1 billion in volume and have continued to push the pace with things like the Launchpad, launching some of those ICOs, which are getting incredible attention in BitTorrent. They also are coming out with their own DEX and testnet with the Binance chain. And then I also asked some questions about upgrades that other traders in the community want to see, and active traders are looking for more complex order types, so they're wondering whether or not margin trading and shorting could come to Binance in a bear market where, for the past 12 months, maybe there's been more activity to the downsides, right? So a lot of traders are wondering if that's possible on Binance or if that just lives on BitMEX. We also have a little bit of fun talking about exchange security, why that's so important with hacks and exit scams going on. And then we also have a laugh at the end. So I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I did. I do want to give a sincere thank you to everyone on the Binance team for the work that you do, CZ for making the time, and also to Dark for making this happen. I really do appreciate you guys. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this. It was a lot of fun. If you do want to get notified every single time I go live with these, I'm going to be having conversations with major players, big investments, key trends or unique views on trading in this space. Click that subscribe down there. It's a Bitcoin button. You'll get notified when I go live. And then also leave me a comment, share this on Twitter, do whatever you have to do. Love to get some feedback from you guys. I really am grateful for that and for you listening. Without further ado, let's get into it. What's up, guys? Welcome to this edition of the Venture Coiners podcast. I am incredibly excited for this episode, maybe more so than all the other episodes. I really did enjoy speaking with those guests as well. But today we have CZ, CEO of Binance. Thank you so much for making time, CZ.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course, of course. You're probably one of the busiest people in crypto. I mean, you just tweeted out earlier today of the Binance chain testnet coming out. The Launchpad has pushed one of the biggest events of this year with the BitTorrent ICO. You have the DEX coming out. Not even to mention last week was your birthday. Did you take some time off for your birthday?
No, actually, I was working on my birthday.
working the whole time.
Yeah, it's fine. I basically work and life is pretty much the same thing for me. So there's not a whole lot of difference. But I did enjoy my birthday. A lot of people said happy birthday and everything's okay. So it's great. Good
deal. Yeah, I saw it attracted a ton of love on Twitter. I don't want to jump into the same topic that it seems like every single podcast or interview start with on how you got into crypto. Laura Shin's covered that, and I've heard your story, and I'm sure a lot of other people have. And if you haven't, check out Laura's podcast. So we'll avoid that. The topic that I do want to jump into first, and I think it's probably the most important right now. There's been so many articles about exchange security. So Cryptopia just got hacked earlier in the year. There's always exchange hacks, but it seems to be prevalent right now. And then we also have the Quadriga situation where, a CEO or a founder of an exchange can just go missing. And it creates a really bad situation for people that aren't deep into crypto. So I even had my mom message me and she said, is this really true? And then people start to think it's a problem with blockchain or Bitcoin. I think it's so crucial that we kind of drill down and people understand that that's not a blockchain problem. That might be a function of a badly run business or something like that. How do you, the CEO of Binance, prevent something like that from happening?
Sure. I think, generally, I can comment from a third-party point of view. I don't know the details from inside of Cryptopia or Quadriga CX, but I think basically, there are bad actors. Bad actors are bad actors, so you can't change that. I think the Cryptopia is looks like a situation where they prioritize profits over security. Basically, the shareholders probably want higher profits, and they were scheming on security, and that's a very bad thing to do from an exchange point of view. The Quadriga CX situation looks increasingly more like an exit scam than anything else. The whole thing looks very fishy. But again, I don't know the details, so I could be wrong. But for Binance, I think basically just exchanges in general, or you're holding crypto yourself in general, you can do them very securely. So there are a lot of security practices that you can employ. So both centralized and exchange-wise, on the exchange side, we do so many things right now. I think you probably saw a couple of tweets recently that we have a number of users, even when their SIM card got swapped, and their 2FA got compromised, their email got compromised, and their exchange password got compromised. and we still saved their funds. So we still prevented the hackers from withdrawing. So there are a lot of very advanced things you can do in the security aspects, and Binance is very secure. And for people who want to hold their crypto on their own, we also offer Trust Wallet, which is a decentralized, you hold your own private key kind of wallet. And there are other wallet solutions which are also quite secure that let you do that. So, but you do need to do it securely. So it doesn't mean that if you use any of those products, you're guaranteed to be secure. You still have to follow the best practices and stuff. So I think basically, security is never a complete, or security encompasses so many things. But I think basically, if you do want to hold your own cryptocurrencies, then you should learn about security and know how to do it properly. And even if you want to use a centralized exchange to hold your cryptocurrency, you still need to take security guidelines. You can't just give your password to any random people. You still have to secure your phone and everything else. So I think basically people just need to learn how to properly use this technology, and the technology itself is very secure.
And then even simple things like with the Quadriga situation, obviously I don't have any insight or insider information there as to whether or not it's an exit scam or whether or not it's legitimate, but simple things like having a multi-sig wallet or maybe having the CEO not hold all the private keys. I mean, that's not something that could happen with Binance or any other major exchange that you're aware of, correct?
Well, I can't speak for other exchanges, but for Binance, that's definitely not going to happen. So basically, one part of security is to secure against yourself, right? So either yourself or your entire exchange becomes unavailable for some reason. So you never want a single point of failure. So a founder or anyone else, or even the guys managing private keys or part of the private keys or part of the wallet infrastructure, there should be no single point of failure. Any one of those guys can become unavailable at any time, and all the funds should be secure. So there are multiple solutions dealing with this. There are multi-sig solutions for the major blockchains. And there are split key solutions where you can split a private key into multiple segments. And you only require 3 out of the 5 segments, any 3 of the 5 or any 5 out of 7. So you can choose any of those combinations. And there are a lot of different solutions like this. Some of the solutions are not not very heavily commercially productized. So as an exchange, we have to do a lot of customizations or custom developments for this kind of solutions. But all of the technology is there. You just have to actually spend the time and effort to do it. And and for founders dying and stuff like that, there are other mechanisms like the dead man switch, where you program something that you have to confirm that you are available every 7 days or every so often. And if you don't confirm, then the piece of information is released to some designated people that you designate. So there are a lot of different mechanisms. It's really up to whether you want to do it or not. I think in the case of a Quadriga CX, not only they didn't want to do it or didn't do it, it's looking very, very fishy. I think there's something fishy going on. But I don't have a lot of time to look into it. But for ourselves, there are many ways to do it very securely to avoid that kind of situation.
Understandable. The single point of failure is such an important phrase that you use there. You had a tweet a while ago that drew some criticism. I think that's good. I think it's good to stir up the crowd every once in a while. You had a tweet that you mentioned, some people interpreted it as this. I'm not sure you meant this, but that it might be safer to store your coins on Binance as opposed to holding it on your own. I don't think you meant that. I think what you said, you were just trying to share the options. Do you think it is safer for people to hold their coins on Binance, since it would kind of eliminate the single point of failure, i.e. me just losing my ledger? Is that safer?
Sure. So I think that's a broader question. So I think it depends on the people. So for a larger percent of the population, I think it is safer today. I think the larger part of the population today does not know how to deal with encryption, how to deal with secure backups, etc. And they don't even. Most part of the population probably doesn't even understand how a private key works. So. For the technically strong guys, for the OGs in the industry, for the guys who understand all of this technology, for many of them, they will have more control holding their own cryptocurrency, because they don't need to go through KYC with us. When they need to spend it, if it's a large amount, we don't have to go through a security check on our side and approve it or disapprove it. So for the guys who are technically capable of doing that on their own, I think it's probably fine for them to hold it in their own wallet, whatever wallet solution they choose. So it's not really a comparison between which one is more secure. It's more of which one's more secure for you as an individual. So I think for different people, there's the different solutions work differently. But I think today, actually, it's very clear that a larger majority of the population will be easier using Binance and probably more secure using Binance. So yes, I think that works for a larger amount of people today, but that drew some criticism because most people who follow me are probably advanced users. And Binance really, typically, we have a lot of advanced users on our site because we're crypto to crypto only. And
Yep.
So yeah, it is what it is. Yeah.
It is what it is. That's right. Staying on kind of the security topic, but moving on to something else you're offering, and it's good that you broke apart power users versus the general user. There's been a trend, at least in 2018, where a lot of people thought it was going to be the year of the DEX, and that didn't really pan out. I think mostly because, I mean, the only DEXs that really gained market share were IDEX and EtherDelta, and it's because they were offering coins that weren't traded elsewhere. You're about to launch your own DEX, and you're already the most powerful centralized and most popular centralized exchange. How do you get people to use your DEX, or is it more just you want to kind of offer that for the power users? Is there an actual push from you that you want to get more people to use the DEX, or is it just about providing that security option?
Well, I think basically we want the regular user to use it. So we want regular people to be able to use the DEX. So I think DEX is one of those things where conceptually everybody understands it. And then the major security benefit you get is you hold your own private key. Again, you need to take care of your own security measures. And many people prefer that in our industry. So we want to offer that option to our users. And but also everybody kind of realized that DEX is a huge potential. It makes sense conceptually, but so far, I think most of the attempts for running DEX, most of the DEX projects out there have limited liquidity or limited number of users. But this is like e-commerce back in the 90s, right? So many people tried it, and then eventually somebody hated it and become the world's richest man. So it doesn't mean that the concept doesn't work. It's just that we're so early in the industry that we got to keep trying multiple options. And we want to throw our option out there as well. And I think we have done quite a lot of work on making the DEX easy to use. And we also, as you mentioned, we also have a lot of ways to push it that I think other people may have less leverage. So we can we can use our existing user base, existing branding, existing market presence to help grow the DEX. And I believe in this case, if we grow our DEX, we actually grow the entire community. So we want to. So this is why we want to push it out there. I think there's a good chance it will work. But again, we do a lot of things by trial and error. So we'll try it first and see how the market responds.
That's really the only way to do it in crypto. Within that of kind of having, some DEXs have worked, and you talked a little bit about finding that combination of what works, whether it's some didn't offer the right liquidity or maybe some were too hard to use. And there's also the security feature. Some people have kind of criticized or maybe say that Binance DEX isn't going to be fully decentralized, or this DEX isn't fully decentralized. It's non-custodial, but it might not be fully decentralized yet. Is there plans to make it fully decentralized in the future, or is it really just kind of planned as a non-custodial thing?
Sure. So I think technically Binance DEX or Binance Chain is fully decentralized. So number one, users host their own private key. The network never has any of it. The network is run by a number of nodes, which we don't control. So the nodes are run independently, and we can't shut down the network ourselves. So we can't control the network once we launch it. So so what I meant by less decentralized, meaning that we socially we have a lot of influence. People know that it's called a Binance Chain, and we are one of the key contributors to the technology, to the development of the technology. So on that aspect, on the social aspects, it's less decentralized than Bitcoin, where nobody knows who Satoshi is. So, but technically, it's fully decentralized. So, and we'll also use some of our centralized marketing abilities to push it. So I think initially, from a social aspect, it feels a little bit less decentralized, but it is a fully decentralized technical platform. So we'll see how that goes.
Okay, and one more thing with the DEX before we move on to kind of one of the other side projects that's been a hit with the Launchpad is the tokens that are all available on Binance centralized exchange right now, obviously I've heard you in an interview with Box Mining, you talked about how ETH tokens could easily be transferable over to the Binance chain and tradable there. I'm sure, wrapped Bitcoin, that token on Ethereum, could be moved over there. So that creates some cool possibilities. Will every token or every coin that's on Binance centralized exchange be on the Binance DEX, or will it be on the projects themselves to kind of move over to Binance chain?
It's on the project themselves. So
Okay.
we will probably move we'll definitely do a Bitcoin tether onto the chain, so that some of the major ones we will probably either tether or ourselves. But for the majority of the projects, it's up to the project teams. So right now, we already have about half a dozen projects confirmed, fairly large existing established projects who are running on ERC20 tokens. They have confirmed that they will move to Binance Chain when the chain becomes available, because they don't use any of the fancy smart contract features. It's just a token platform for them. Our platform is faster than Ethereum. It's cheaper to transfer, and hopefully will have large liquidity as well. So we already have a number of projects confirmed. And but right now, still in early stages. We haven't even launched our mainnet. So hopefully, we haven't even launched our testnet. So hopefully, after we launch testnet and then mainnet, we'll see more projects switching over, and that will increase the liquidity or the demand for Binance Coin as well. So we're hoping that will happen.
Yep. I mean, you were able to do it with Binance already, so I'm optimistic. With hype and how I think that snowball effect is going to happen with the DEX. One thing that's been incredibly hyped this year with Binance is the Launchpad. And I know this was a project or kind of something you were working on before this year, but it seems like this year you revamped it and are focusing even more. You just had the BitTorrent launch, which was probably the biggest token event of the year from Tron, that project. Now you have the Fetch AI project coming out, and you're planning to do 2 a month. My question is less about those projects and more about, do you think there's actually a future in ICOs? A lot of people in 2018 said, ICOs have died out. This model of, a ton of pre-mined coins or a ton of pre-saled coins and then selling some in a public sale just doesn't work. Clearly, with the Launchpad, that sold out in 7 seconds, and there's a ton of hype with all these projects, and that's something you're working on. Do you think this lives past 2019 and into 1 year, 5 years in the future, ICOs?
Sure, absolutely. So I think basically ICOs got a little bit of a bad name because it was like was total freedom. So it's total. There's quite a lot of chaos, and there are many different projects where it was too hot. You write a 5-page white paper and you can raise $10 million, and then of course the founders wants to do nothing other than write the next white paper. So it was getting too hot, and then with a sort of a bear market or correction in the 2018, a lot of people lost money, and you got a bad name to ICO. But I think if you look past all of that, I think raising money on blockchain fundraising is a killer app, and it has huge implications. It has huge advantages to entrepreneurs. So what we need to do is basically just find the best entrepreneurs, find the most proper projects, the legit projects, and make sure that the token economy economics make sense. So we need to make sure that they don't raise too much, keep the initial prices lower because they don't have a product yet or the product's not out yet. So there's a proper structure there's a sound structure, there's a good structure to do fundraising properly, and that's what we want Launchpad to do. And I think that's actually instrumental for the for our industry, because I firmly believe entrepreneurs are the guys who are going to build this industry. And now we have this wonderful tool to help them raise money and to help them launch their project. And so we want to make use of it. And I fully believe that we will not be the only ones doing it. There are still other guys doing their own on-chain or off-chain fundraising events through blockchain. And so we will be one of those platforms. But I think the projects we go through, we support will go through very detailed due diligence. And we want to make sure those are all legit, proper projects. Not every project will be successful in the end because there's many other factors that will cause startup projects to fail. But at least we know those are not scams. They fail because of other reasons like market conditions or not able. So startup projects could fail for other reasons, but we want to build this healthy entrepreneurial economy. So I think blockchain fundraising is going to stay, and it's going to be a big industry going forward.
Okay. Okay, good. I wanted to touch on the ICO thing. I know that's been huge, and I mean it's crazy because those scams that you talked about and everyone knows about, whether it's 50% or 90%, you said they can write a white paper 5 pages and raise millions of dollars. Your white paper is 9 pages. You raised 15, but I think the capital formation and the mechanism isn't kind of the problem. I think it's the leadership and actually someone being a sound entrepreneur and having the right intent. Because clearly, you raised $15 million and what you've built has been nothing short of impressive. So. Anyways, past the launchpad, there are tons of things that make Binance the choice for traders. I've said, and I've heard before, liquidity is king. I think a lot of people trade there because it has the best liquidity. It has a good UI. You constantly kind of list good tokens or tokens that people want access to. But there are a couple kind of adjustments or upgrades that I think a lot of traders in the communities have asked about and are curious about whether or not they're being worked on. So the first one I want to touch on is complex order types. Right now across every exchange, and I'm sure there's some technical reason why this hasn't been implemented yet, but right now if I have a coin on Binance, let's say it's Binance coin, I can only set a take profit or a stop loss. So let's say I have 1,000 Binance coins. It only allows me to set a sell order of 1,000 Binance coins. Once that's depleted, I can't also set a stop order of 1,000 Binance coins. So I'm kind of at risk there. Is there plans to implement that? That seems like something that could be implemented, definitely kind of help with risk management.
Sure. So those things are definitely on the plan. So basically what happened is with the number of users increasing on our platform, now there's demand for more sophisticated features. And to be honest, we have gaps in our feature offerings in our products. So for the really advanced users, they use the API and they program their own triggers or OCOs or stop loss kind of on the client side. And we offer a very simple UI initially, and we haven't really had a lot of time to add a lot of advanced features into it. So for OCOs, trading stops, and other advanced order types, there has been a lot of demand, and we're fully aware of it. And we have been working on it. So we want to implement OCOs kind of natively in our engine, so it's more guaranteed. So I'll go into a little bit of a technical detail with that. The current implementation of taking profit or trigger orders is that we pre-lock the funds so that we will never be in a situation where both orders execute and you're in an over-allocated or overspending kind of situation. With OCOs, we have to lock both funds, which doesn't really work right now. So we actually, there's a way to solve it, of course, and we're working on it. So it is taking a little bit of time. And we've been working in the background, we've been working on a lot of the security features, like the AI detection system that we just rolled out recently. So we have one of the smallest teams out of all the big exchanges. Our team's smaller than some of the bigger exchanges, or some of the less big exchanges than us, but still quite big exchanges. So we're probably one of the biggest exchanges out there with the smallest team. So we are working on those features one by one, and please bear with us. So we will eventually fill up all of those feature gaps that we're fully aware of. So yeah, it will take some time.
Okay. I just wanted that one to be heard. That's one that comes up on Twitter so much. Yes. The second one is more conceptual. I'm not sure it's actually kind of a technical thing, but it's more about whether or not it's actually positive for your business. So right now, margin trading is really dominated by BitMEX, right? You can only short tokens via futures contracts on BitMEX. So it kind of leads to maybe unnatural price discovery. Really, you can only buy a token or sell it if you have it. You can't, short sell a lot of tokens or a lot of coins out there. Will margin trading, or is margin trading something that you are looking to add on Binance? Then kind of the follow-up there is, does that hurt your business if you allow people to start shorting tokens? That could lead to, we've seen what happened with ETH. Right when that gets added, perp swaps on BitMEX, that is going to increase selling pressure. And if adding shorting to some tokens might lead to price discovery to the downside, does that hurt your business where you need tokens trading on Binance to have revenue?
Sure. I think there's two aspects to it. I think for our business, for the industry, and I'll try to answer both. I think margin trading itself is actually very profitable for exchanges. If you look at BitMEX, it actually has very high volumes. You get when you do very high leverage, then you actually get commission fees on the leverage part as well, plus interest on the leverage, etc. So it is actually very profitable for exchanges to allow margin trading. So it's beneficial for our business. We just haven't. We're just working on security in the last part. We have so many people working on security products that we actually didn't get to margin trading, and we wanted the decentralized exchange, etc. So I view margin trading as a tool for like the heavy traders or heavy speculators to trade. And in a prolonged bear market and where nothing else is going on, people kind of moving to margin. So that's and because when people feel they're in a bear market, they want to be able to short. So there was a lot of demand for that kind of products. But for us, I think the priority is to grow the ecosystem. So we want to focus on DEX. We want to focus on being able to help more tokens launch. So that's why our focus has always been a little bit different from some of the other exchanges. I think also for the industry, even having short ability should not affect coin price. It may affect it short term. There's more volatility. There's more speculation. The guys doing short when a future contract is about to settle, they will have to. They tend to. Some of them will try to manipulate the spot price. But overall, the price but those are just sort of a trading price discovery. Those are just speculative trades. How much a coin is worth is still based on utility. So basically, if, for example, taking Ethereum has a lot of utility. So even though the price dives, the price goes up by trading. But at the end of the day, the speculators have to come back to the real utility price. So they have to mark to market. So it does have some influence short term, but longer term, it's actually how useful is your product that determines price. How useful is
value versus price.
Right. So, so I think longer term, it actually doesn't hurt our industry either. It actually gives more trading volume. The higher trading volume actually give you a more accurate benchmark of price discovery. So I think it's both for the exchange and for the industry. So it's a good thing. I just think that the more tools we have, the better. But it's just that we're focused on some other tools in the past little while, and we haven't got to it yet. Yeah.
That makes sense. Going on one more topic with kind of an exchange feature before I ask you about your own token and we wrap up here. You added more base pairs with Ripple, and now kind of instead of ETH having a drop down of base pairs, it's altcoins, and you can also go to Ripple base pairs. I know that made the Ripple army happy. There's some hardcore Ripple fans out there that love to see that, but it only added two trading pairs, Tron and XEC, I believe. What's the longer term play with that? Are you looking to add more Ripple pairs? What made you choose Ripple? What's kind of the threshold or your plan there long term? What's the reasoning? Why add Ripple as a base pair?
Sure. I think in the ideal world or to one extreme, you want all pairs against every other pair. You want every coin against every other coin traded. So this way, if a user just holds one coin and they want to trade to another coin, they don't have to go through BTC or ETH or USDT or so then it's one trade instead of two trades for that user. But on the flip side is if you do that, then the liquidity gets spread around the entire matrix. And you actually have worse liquidity. And then you have, for a guy who is trading large amounts, for example, if I want to buy a large amount of some coin, I need to do liquidity discovery. I need to do price discovery among all pairs. So it helps a certain number of users, but it makes it tougher for a certain number of other users. So if you want to buy large quantities, so that's kind of a balance somewhere, and it's not a set number. So we had a lot of demand for XRP users. And of course, XRP's market cap is up there, very close to sometimes even overtaking Ethereum. We thought that makes sense to add a few pairs and see how the market reacts and see how the liquidities are. And over time, as long as there's enough liquidity and there's strong demand, we'll keep adding more and more. And it's not limited to XRP. And any coin can become a base could become a base currency. And so for us, we do things based on market demand, based on community. We provide things based on our users' needs. So that's really it. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So it's almost like more cross pairs in FX. I just didn't know if it was a liquidity thing. You thought more volumes would travel there, but that makes a lot of sense. The last thing I'm going to ask is with your own coin. So Binance Coin this week just hit new all-time highs, and altcoins have been doing well for the past week or two. Ever since Bitcoin really rebounded from 3,200, alts have been able to do well. none really have been able to do this well. And that's strange because correlations between alts are usually very high. Usually they kind of travel in the same pack. If they're all up 5%, usually they're around 5%. There's one or two outliers. If majors are up, they all kind of move in the same group. Binance is making new all-time highs and seems to kind of trade on its own. What do you think is driving the price of Binance coin and making it hit new all-time highs when other coins aren't there yet?
Sure. I don't know too much about the other coins, but my understanding of the Binance coin is very simple. We have just been so busy building things. So if you build value, eventually price catches up to value. In my not so humble opinion, I think actually happened much later than I expected. I thought this should have happened a long time ago. Of course, my opinion is very, very biased here. So I'm always bullish. And I think basically, if you look at the number of features we added over time compared to, I guess the market average of projects out there, and the number of things we're doing and the number of activities and the amount of engagement we have with the community and etc. There's just so much more activity going on. And we are releasing new features, new exchanges, fiat on-ramps, DEX, credit card pay channels, etc. So we're doing a lot of this stuff. And I think basically we have one of those most passionate, most hardworking, and most dedicated teams behind our project. Most of them are not visible actually, but they work super hard and they believe in the mission. They're very passionate. So I think over the long run, those little things add up. And then once you hit a trigger point, so I was actually, to be honest, I was actually quite surprised when the Bitcoin dropped from 6,000 to 3,000. The Binance coin price didn't go up. I thought the price because we actually dragged a little bit underwater by Bitcoin doing that. I was actually a little bit surprised because Binance coin has always kind of acted as a stable coin of some sort against in bear markets, because we are the ones driving this, especially in bear markets. We drive really hard. We try to drive positive energy into the entire industry. So I was a little bit surprised by that, but now I think our price kind of come back already. So that's a good thing. But we still have a lot more to do. I think this is such a little piece of the beginning that most people don't see the future yet. But we're going to be here for the long term. We're going to build so much more value, hopefully. And I think the price should correspond with value sooner or later. So I think right now is a very good example of, and it's a very good motivation for other projects to keep focusing on their project, ignore all the other noise, and build value. And other good things will come.
Yep, it's a powerful message for the rest of the industry. Last thing I'm going to ask you, a fun question, talking a little bit about Binance being maybe a hedge in the bear market. And I know Binance does continue to do very, very well in the bear market. But talking back on during the bull market, you were on Laura Shin's podcast, and you guys had a funny conversation about you being a crypto billionaire. And once you reached that status, talking about whether or not you had a Lambo, and you said you hadn't had a Lambo and that you hadn't flown a private jet, but you liked the idea that you could if you wanted to. I just wanted to ask, for your birthday, did you change either of those? Did you get a Lambo or did you fly on a private jet yet?
Sure. So for the record, so far in my life, I've never set foot in a private jet. I've also never set foot in a Lambo or a Ferrari or any of those supercars. So it hasn't happened yet. My birthday was a very normal day. I stayed. It was just like any other day. So I didn't do anything crazy. And to be honest, those kind of things are not something I crave. I've actually been offered a couple of times for like, hey, do you want to drive my Lambo by rich friends and stuff. But it's just not something that I really crave. I think it would be fun if I'm kind of free. So maybe one day when I'm less busy, I'll get to it. But right now, I think there's more meaningful stuff to do. And I think I'm not super young, but I'm not super old. So I'm still quite young. I can leave all of those things to later, and I can do more stuff that require more of my energy right now. And it's more satisfying that way. So I don't crave those things.
It makes a lot of sense. Maybe a Tesla. Maybe that'll get Elon Musk to take the lightning torch chain. Maybe that's the driver right there.
As I said before, as soon as he accepts crypto, then I'll pay for one.
Maybe you'll hear this podcast. I'll reach out again. Sure. Thank you so much, CZ, for coming on. I know I speak for so many people in the industry and even outside that continue to say and you continue to kind of show it that you're leading by example in this space, continuing to push the pace both with the Launchpad, the Binance testnet, the DEX, everything, and then also just leading by example, showing that an ICO can happen, build an incredible business, and continue to kind of think long-term for the industry. So really do greatly appreciate you coming on, respect your work. Thank you once again so much.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure. This talk is really, really cool. And yeah, if you need anything in the future, let me know. Cheers.
Definitely. Thank you. Cheers, guys.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, you guys made it. End of the podcast. That was so much fun to record. Thank you so much to the Binance team and to CZ. One more time to Dark for making this all happen. I appreciate all of you guys. And thank you guys for listening. You're the reason I put this stuff out there. I'm having these conversations anyways, and it's a nice way for me to record it, provide some value, especially for crypto traders that want to know, major trends or major players and what's going on in the industry. I want to keep bringing you these conversations that give a little bit of extra insight you might not get elsewhere. So click that button down in there, not that corner, this corner. Subscribe to the podcast on here, or if you want, the iTunes link is down below so you can listen on the go. Whatever your preference is, I don't care. Listen, share it if you feel obliged. I really do appreciate it. Leave me a comment on what you want to hear next, what you want to see more of, less of, and reach out on Twitter. Every single person that shares this on Twitter, I'll be scrolling through my notifications, and if I see you, I will thank you personally. Really do appreciate it, guys. And until next time, continue to move slow, trade well. See you guys soon.